When people find out you're Scottish, what's the first thing they ask you or like tell you about that they know about Scotland?
What do you wear under your kilt?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or they claim to be Scottish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Men in kilts.
Men in kilts. Kilts, a road trip with Sam McGrath.
Welcome to EW's Three Rounds. I'm Ruth Kinane, and I'm here with the cast of Men in Kilts, Sam Heughan and McTavish, to have three Scottish drinks and a little chat about their new TV series. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much
How are you?
for drinking with me today.
And a fellow Scot, of course, as well.
We're probably all going to get, as we say in Scotland, steaming real fast.
Steaming.
So round one is an Isle of Harris gin with tonic water and a slice of grapefruit.
Slàinte.
Slàinte. Cheers.
Cheers. Now that is absolutely delicious. Can I just mention that I do love this gin, and I think Scotland does amazing gin. Obviously, people know Scotland for whiskey, but we make great gin.
The distilleries have just taken off. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's so fashionable right now, gin. Let's talk about Men in Kilts a little bit. Where did the idea kind of come from? Am I right in saying that it originally was going to be a podcast and then it kind of turned into a TV show?
Yeah. Well, Sam and I had been talking about this vaguely for a long time, and then he rang me in my kitchen, actually. And said, "Hey, why don't we do a podcast about Scotland?" And I pretended to know what a podcast was. And I said, "Yeah, great." And then he came back, I think it was literally a couple of days later, and said, "Oh, what about GoPros?" And I went, "Okay." But then he suggested we do it with the full crew, and we did. And it was extraordinary. It went from, an idea in March, and I think we were shooting it in September.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. What was something new that you both learned about Scotland while you were doing it?
Ooh,
Oh, wow. It's tough because everywhere we went, every character we met, and also some of the things we saw or touched, we actually got to touch weapons that have been used in these battles in Culloden, and that for me was really, really eye-opening and an amazing experience to actually touch the past.
I suppose the variety. I mean, it's really like what Sam was saying, just what Scotland has to offer in all of those different areas. Food, music, history, landscape, the people. The characters that we met were stranger than any fiction. I mean, they really were.
Yeah.
You couldn't have made them up. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A land that is cut through with rocks and mountains that weave like some kind of tartan kilt.
I knew you were going to go there.
Which is called Scotland.
It must make you feel really proud as well when you're traveling around, just to be like, this is my country. Were there ever any moments where you were a little bit emotional, maybe just feeling the patriotism?
The landscape of Scotland, when you travel through it, it tells a story. Everywhere you turn, there are stories that are popping up, and you can see it in the landscape. You can see, ruined buildings, people that were forced out of their homes during the clearances. Some of these buildings are still there, and it's going to somewhere like Trumpen Church, where a terrible massacre took place, and there it is. And when you step into those places, I think you really do have a very real connection with the past, very tangible.
Did you guys have a favorite place that you went to, maybe somewhere you hadn't been before? Is that hard to narrow down?
Not abseiling off Kilt.
That was fun. I obviously tried to put Graham in places where he didn't feel that comfortable, because
it's all this talk of history. It's nothing to do with it. No. This is just a ruse.
Trying to throw you off a cliff, basically.
Yeah. For me, I mean, there are so many great places we visit, but I think the islands for me are really remarkable. They're like another part of Scotland, another world, and they have so much history as well, and not only through Scottish history, but like the Scandinavians, the Vikings coming over, and it really is, there's so much to dig into in Scotland.
And a lot of those communities in the islands, particularly the Outer Hebrides, Gaelic is still the first language, which is really amazing. It's like a different country.
It's so cool.
And they make great gin.
Yes, Isle of Harris, we love it. Well, on that note, I think we can move on to our second round, so we just got to down these really fast.
What's next?
Round two is a pint of Tennents lager, a Glaswegian lager.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so round two,
Cheers.
Tennents lager. I have this cool glass. Since we're getting a little bit tipsy, let's talk about you guys' friendship and how, so you obviously met on Outlander. What was you guys' first impression of each other, and why did you think now that you would make okay travel companions for this show?
I was very annoyed that he was an inch taller than me. Very annoyed. It was one of the first things I noticed about him. In all seriousness, one of the things I noticed about Sam was how generous and warm he was towards me. Made me feel completely at my ease, and it was great. Actually, we had a really good meeting. But I was slightly annoyed about the height thing.
It was great to meet him, and then unfortunately, then I had to work with him and drive a camper van around Scotland with him.
There is no way that if somebody had said to me on that day in Soho, "You're going to be traveling around Scotland in a camper van with him in a few years," I would never have.
We're going on the trip of a lifetime.
Spent a lot of time here, obviously, shooting Outlander.
What is portrayed in the show is truthful in many ways.
Time travel is truthful.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily thinking of the time travel.
Was there any point where you actually did feel unsafe? Because you did a lot of like out there things. There was some cold moments in the North Atlantic Sea. Any points where you were just like, why did we do this?
No.
I mean, you didn't. No, you were fine. It wasn't that I felt unsafe. Terrified, I would say. The motorbike and sidecar, I mean, literally like a tiny metal coffin that I was in as I was being driven around at speed by a man who had barely ever been on a motorbike, let alone driven a motorbike and sidecar, and that was leaking fuel.
Yeah. It was pouring out a lot of fuel. I mean, basically every scenario was to bring Graham closer to his demise. But,
Yes.
you know, again, I think this is what the viewers want. This is what people are asking for. You know, learn a bit about Scotland, see a man, you know,
But mainly
confront
let
his mortality.
McTavish suffer. Yes.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's TV gold. So that we need more. We need more of it.
Can we talk about how many different voices Graham has? Because my favorite thing was just when you guys would just go into like wee voices that weren't your own.
But we spent a lot of time driving together, and I think, you know, honestly, we get on very well, and I think we both have a sort of similar humor. It's kind of a Monty Python stroke.
And I think it helped Sam as well to sometimes feel that he was in a van with someone else.
Yes.
You know,
I could be like Jason Statham and just sort of sit there and talk to him like that.
It felt like a little bit like an audition for something, but I don't know what he was auditioning for.
No, nor do I.
Very good. Well, I think we're about time for our third round, but very quickly, how many kilts did you guys actually wear?
I think there was 4, 5.
Oh no, way more. Way more. We visit one of our good friends who's a kilt maker, and he designed some kilts for us. We obviously used a lot of our own personal kilts, and I have to admit, you know, they're so comfortable and they're great. Riding a town on a bicycle, maybe not. I would recommend people wear a kilt while watching this TV show.
The soldiers would dance the swords before they went into battle.
The origination of Highland Games would come from the clan.
This land tells a story of its people.
Okay, should we do our third round? I'm really not making good progress here. Round 3 is a wee dram of Sassenach whiskey, which you can have neat or on the rocks.
If you didn't know, this is my whiskey.
Who would have thought it?
Graham.
Was I really generous? Is that too much?
That's a Scottish. That's a dram.
That's a wee dram.
Cheers.
Cheers, Landra. What should we be tasting, Sam?
What should you be tasting?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can still taste something after the other drinks. But
Do you guys have a favorite Scottish, maybe just like a fast food, doesn't need to be something fancy, maybe it's just like haggis pakora.
oh, nice.
Or, you know, a square sausage in a roll.
Oh, so good. But actually, mentioning the square sausage, on our wrap nights in Braemar after the Highland Games in the morning, I wasn't feeling too bright, and I got a local square sausage, which is a square, as it sounds like, flat in a bun with an egg.
Oh,
And it was, honestly, I still think about it to this day. Tremendous.
yes.
Okay.
This is a great example of amazing Scottish seafood.
I wanted to also, wondered if you guys can explain a little bit about ceilidh dancing, because it's such a thing that we grew up doing in school. Like we hate it when we have to learn it in school, and then you go to a wedding and it's the best thing ever because everybody knows the dances.
Yeah, ceilidh is traditionally it's a meeting basically, and people would sing and storytell and obviously play music and dance. And we have these set dances that some of them actually aren't that old. We learn in many kilts that actually they're not.
Yeah.
They haven't been created only in the past 100 years or so. But we were taught them in Scotland in school, and I remember hating it. having to sort of learn these dances, and now it's the best fun ever. I absolutely adore it, and everyone is involved, and it's so fun. It really is. It's so. Well, it also means you sweat out the alcohol, so it's.
And if you don't have bruises on your arms at the end, like you weren't doing it right, I figure.
Yeah, I did. I went to one once on Mull, and this young lady was catapulted into the drum kit.
What do you guys think is a big misconception people have about Scotland or about Scottish people in general?
Well, the one that really annoys me is the idea that Scots aren't generous. They will share their last loaf of bread with you. They'll go out of their way to help you out if you're having a tough time. So, yeah, they're very community minded, the Scots.
When people find out you're Scottish, what's the first thing they ask you or like tell you about that they know about Scotland?
What do you wear under your kilt?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or they claim to be Scottish.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, to finish off, because we're just about out of time, I'm going to give you some Scottish slang expressions, and I want you to repeat them back and then explain what they actually mean.
Oh,
so the first one is "Hod your wisht."
Hod your wisht.
Quiet,
shut up.
Giat laldy.
Giat laldy means to like go for it big time. Go and have a great party.
Fill your
go
boots.
100%.
That's right now. Away and bile your heat.
Away and bile your head. It's kind of
just
the most polite way of just saying get to.
Lang may your lum reek.
Lang may your lum reek. It refers to
long may your chimney smoke. Basically, long may your life be.
Yeah, and
I was just referring to Graham's huge chimney.
A huge chimney that will never get cold.
Okay, and lastly, let's get mad with it.
After these three, I think we will get mad with it.
Let's get mad.
It basically means to like, let's just have a party and let's have a load of fun, which is
go crazy.
It always refers back to having a great time.
I know, it's great.
This was a very apt decision for this interview.
Right.
Well, let's finish our whiskey and get mad with it, guys.
Get mad with it.
Indeed.
Thanks for watching EW's 3 Rounds with Men in Kilts, Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish.
Fine job.
Lunch.
Fine job.